Hello and welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for March 6th, Wednesday. We got hump day. Yesterday was a pretty crazy slate. Alprin Sengun absolutely just nuked for us, so hopefully we can find another guy to do that today. Now, before we get into it, want to bring your attention to those promos. Just like most days, we got ParlayPlay, Sleeper, Underdog, Chalkboard, all of which will give you up to 1 month free of Line Star. You just got to be a new customer, deposit at least $10, do as all of these say to do, and then afterwards, if you can fill out that form to just let us know you are a new customer there, and we can get that data from that pick'em site. So now, let's get into the projections. We got 8 games on both sites. All the games are on the slate. It's pretty interesting how this slate is broken up. We have 4 games early and then 4 games late. There's an hour and a half difference between, the 4:30 games and the 6 o'clock games starting, and then a full another hour for those 3 late games to get going. So it's going to be really interesting. Another thing that I want to bring up, and I haven't done it yet, but I am considering bumping the projections of that Kings and Lakers game by say 5% for all the players in that game. The reason being is their projections look decent, but not great where I'm getting much of it. But this game total is significantly higher than everything else on the slate. And there's so much ownership being clumped up with the 76ers, with, Washington, Orlando, and Utah, and the Bulls, that I think that it might be smart to push in the highest, game total of the night that's really not getting much ownership. And most likely, somebody in that game is going to be needed, so I think it's a strategy aspect that I'm considering, and I just haven't quite used it yet, but it's something that I definitely am thinking about throughout the day. So I just wanted to put that out there. I didn't do that for this show, thus I'm really not talking about many of those guys, and I think we should probably be talking about some of them. All right, now, as always, we're going to start on FanDuel. Go position by position, starting with Cameron Payne, 38% owned. He's going to be higher than this. He is almost guaranteed to be the starter. There's no Maxey, no Kyle Lowry. He started at shooting guard last night. I would expect him to start at point guard. Last time he did, he played 36 minutes and put up a 40-burger. Last night he only played 23 minutes, but still put up 22. But that was at the shooting guard, and him and Kelly Oubre kind of split time there, where Oubre got a significant more amount of time. But look, Payne has been a guy that is very good for fantasy production. He's 1.06 fantasy points per minute as a starter. On the season with the 76ers, he's like 0.94, but we've seen him have, starting stints here and there between with Phoenix, with Milwaukee, and now the 76ers, where he produces as a starting point guard. So I'm definitely intrigued to go this way with Cameron Payne. The one thing, we do have the ownership at 38%. Look, I think it's probably going to be double that. He was 50-something% owned last night when he was a late surprise start. So it was after 4 o'clock, after lock, that we found out that he was starting. So I would expect 60-70%. His price is like the same. Definitely an interesting spot and a decent matchup. Not a great matchup, a decent one. Chris Middleton's coming in next. He is cheap. He is likely to start. We have him at 31 minutes, but he just wasn't really playing that as a starter, so I don't think he's going to get that high. I put him down a little bit more like 26, 27, and I'm just not getting there because of it. If I put him at 31, I will start to get him. he does have at least a ceiling because when he starts, 1.1 fantasy point per minute. So I understand why people are going there. I just can't give him the minutes. That's my issue. Alex Caruso coming in next at 5,600. He is absolutely a value. The one issue with him is he just doesn't get a ton of run, and everybody else on this team is getting a ton of run. And because of that, I find myself going to those guys instead of Caruso. Caruso could get there, but I just don't love that he's usually around 32 minutes rather than like 38, like, White, Ayo, or DeRozan. And pivot-wise, Darius Garland. There's no Mitchell, no Evan Mobley. He gets a significant bump without those guys. There's also no Max Strus, so he's going to have to shoot more. He's going to have to play a little bit more. He played 36 last night. I would expect he's right around the same tonight. It's a better matchup than last night, and he almost went for 40. And as we saw earlier in the season, he has that 50, 55 point ceiling. So I like the spot, and I love that he's not really getting owned. I think people are kind of tired of pushing him in and him not really producing, but he hasn't had great matchups, and this one is a much better matchup. So I'm intrigued to go to Garland. Next, we got Jordan Clarkson. We were all over him yesterday also, and he just went absolutely nuts. I got to say this. I like Clarkson and I like Sexton, but I don't think I'm going to play them together. I really think that it's going to be one or the other to get it done. I don't think both are going to get there together. So that is one thing. I do like Clarkson. He's going to be coming off the bench. The guy is, with how beat up the Jazz are, he's going to have a ton of usage. If that shot is falling again like it was last night, he hit 4 threes, took 26 shots, then he becomes super, super interesting. He is a guy that has a giant ceiling when he gets it going. His price is up there, though, after that last stint. But look, he's been higher so far this year, and we've seen plenty of mid-40s or 50s scores from him. So I do like going to Clarkson. As I said, I also like Sexton. Sexton's just been a beast. 1.22 fantasy per minute over his last 22 starts. So one of the things I just said with Clarkson is the two of them don't really get there together, but they did last night. 48 points and 63 points. It can happen. One thing I have to say with that was an elite matchup versus the Wizards. This matchup isn't quite as good. I think it's a little more doubtful they both can get there. Now, if you want them to play them together, by all means, do it. We have seen that it can happen together. I just don't think it's going to be that consistent that it happens together. Another pivot, Tyus Jones. It's versus Orlando. We have no Bagley, and Gafford was traded. It's going to be a lot more on these smaller position players. Kuzma, Bilal, Denny, Jones, all I think get a little bit of a bump in this situation. And Orlando hasn't been great to the point guard. 28th overall versus the point guard. Jones just had a run of, several really good games in a row. Don't mind going back to him with his price down a little bit, and in the hopes that he might shoot more and just do a little bit more than he already is. So moving on to point guard on DraftKings, we got Cam Payne, Chris Dunn, and Darius Garland, all of which we have talked about, so we can just kind of move on. I will bring up De'Aaron Fox. I think is very interesting. 8,600 isn't enough. In his first game back, he played 39 minutes, so we don't have to worry about his minutes being limited. He's going to be full out, and Lakers aren't great versus point guard. So it definitely becomes interesting. They've been a little bit better lately, but still aren't great there. So I definitely do not mind going there, as we will see right here in the defensive matchup. So Kobe White with a clear top matchup, then Tyus Jones. SGA is right there. SGA is in just an amazing spot here. One thing I have to say is that it is a giant, like 14-point spread. If you're going to play SGA, one of these Portland guys are probably going to get there. We said that the other night. Simmons got there. The game stayed close versus, I think it was Minnesota. And, Portland had guys being able to get there. They're super limited on players. So I think that if you play SGA, you should probably have a Portland guy because most likely they're going to take each other there. If OKC gets out to a giant lead and, Shai is only playing 28, 30 minutes, he's not going to put up 75. He's not going to put up 60. He'll be more of this 48, like versus the Lakers, played 30 minutes, 48. Played 29, put up 40 in a blowout. So while I do like SGA, I am probably going to pair him with a Portland player. Garland, we talked about it, and moving on to shooting guard. So campaign, Chris Dunn, Kelly Oubre are coming in the highest owned guys. Oubre, look, he's in a nice spot. He gets a bump up with all those guys out. He's over a fantasy point per minute player without, Embiid and Maxey and Melton. So definitely understand wanting to go there. Just, kind of interested to see if he is starting. I would assume he is, and I would assume he's getting, 32, 34 minutes. I don't expect 36 like he did last night. He just played really, really well. Then pivot-wise, I got Clarkson, Sexton. Talked about both of them already. And I want to talk about Buddy Hield as a pivot off Oubre. Right when he got traded, he had a slew of games with Philly where his usage was really high and he was really, really scoring well. 36, 44 minutes a game and doing very, very good. We now have a spot where there's minutes back for him in the guard position. And if he's getting, 36, 38 minutes with a little higher usage, he starts to become really interesting in a game that he could crush. And, the Grizzlies just aren't that good on the perimeter. So I'm definitely intrigued by going to some Buddy Hield and getting off some of that Oubre or Payne ownership. Although I don't know how much I'll be getting off Payne. I think I got 90% of them in my first run. And shooting guard on DK, we got Chris Dunn, Kelly Oubre, Sam Merrill coming in at 3 highest. I got to talk about Merrill a little bit. We know how beat up the Cavs are. He got 30 minutes without Strus and Mitchell last game. There is now no Mobley as well. So I think that 30 minutes is safe. I think he's going to get it again. We have him as only a 0.51 fantasy per minute as a starter, but he has played... he has started exactly 1 game. But he has started exactly 1 game this season, the last one, and he played terrible. On the season, he's more like a 0.85 guy. Now, I don't expect him to be a 0.85 guy with Garland on the court, because he's just not going to have the ball in his hand as much, but I still think he's going to be taking a lot of shots. He's taking the Max Strus role. While this guy is not going to be as good of a rebounder, he can shoot the lights out. And if he gets hot, there's real chances of, high 30s or into the 40s. So I don't mind going there whatsoever in a good matchup, high-paced spot for Merrill. Matchup tool, shooting guard. We got Io, Sam Merrill, Kevin Huerter, and Anthony Black all coming in at the best matchups. Black, I'm not playing him. He's just worthless. He does not do very much. Even when he starts, he's only playing 26, 27 minutes. I just don't think the chance of him hitting high 20s is high enough for me to really force him into any lineups. Io is fine. Don't mind going there. He's been playing pretty well. His $6,500 salary is a little bit up there for me, but don't mind it. And Huerter is definitely one of the guys I will want to target in the chance that I use some Sacramento players. Small forward on FanDuel, we got Tobias Harris, Denny Advidia, and Kelly Oubre with the high-owned guys. Harris, as we talked about the other day, he's just in an extremely good spot without Maxey, without Embiid. He goes to 1.06 fantasy points per minute without those guys, getting a ton of minutes. Played 37 the other day. I don't mind going back to Tobias. He has a ceiling now without those guys. You know, beforehand, he didn't really have a ceiling. He was just consistent mid-30s. And I was okay, you know, paying that mid-6s price tag with that kind of consistency from time to time. But now he has a ceiling, and his price tag's not that much higher. So definitely intrigued to go to a little bit of Tobias. The one thing with Tobias, Oubre, Hield, it's like I'm probably not playing more than 2 of those 3 in the same lineup. The chance all 3 of them that get together and get there is just so slim. It would mean like there's 3 30-point scorers on that team, and that's just extremely doubtful. I think Denny is in an interesting spot. I do expect Kyle Kuzma to slide over to the center a lot more, and that will move Denny to the power forward, which just gives him a little bit of better chance to get some rebounds and do some other stuff. Also brings that minute projection up to 35. On the season, or over the last 20, he's only averaging 30.6. Last 5, up to 34, and you can just see the differences as far as what he's doing per game. I think he has a pretty solid floor, and he obviously has a huge ceiling, putting up 66 the other day. While I do not expect a 66, 40 plus absolutely is in the wheelhouse. Now some pivots. DeMar DeRozan. I can't believe how much I've talked about him as a pivot this season. But look, once again, guys around 40, 50 all the time. He's only 8.1K. I love him this spot. He's going to get a ton of minutes, and he can cook this Jazz team. So definitely intrigued to go to DeMar. And I'm not really getting too different here. Another guy I wanted to talk about was Saddiq Bey. Went to him yesterday and got no problem going back to him in this spot. Cleveland's just not good versus small forward, and now they have a shooting guard playing small forward. So that should work into Bey's favor. Maybe he, you know, isn't as open on 3 because the shooting guard has the speed to stay with him. But he also could probably bully down low and maybe get an extra couple rebounds. I'm definitely intrigued by going to some Saddiq. We've seen him with multiple 40-point efforts over the last couple weeks. Small forward on DK, Oubre, Bryce Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh, he didn't start last game when everybody thought he was going to. Only played 21 minutes. I think he's probably right around the same spot, maybe a couple extra. But he's just not a great fantasy per minute scorer. So I'm not really in love with going to Sensabaugh. If you want to, totally fine. He's dirt cheap on DK, so I get it. LeBron James, guy is 50, 60s all the time. He's in that late game. It's a very interesting game. He's had huge games versus Sacramento, so I think James makes a lot of sense tonight. And matchup tool-wise, Harrison Barnes, Saddiq Bey, Vince Williams, Alec Caruso, all popping up. I think all of which are interesting. Harrison Barnes is, you know, cheap and going to play a decent amount of minutes, so I get why you want to go there. We've seen some big blowout games. He just has been pretty bad on the whole for the season, but over the last 20, 0.74 fantasy per minute is, you know, about 0.1 higher than what he's been on this season. So he has been much better over this back half of this season so far. So it's one thing to consider at least with him. Now, on to power forward, FanDuel, Tobias Harris, Denny, and Jarrett Allen are the highest owned, with Luka Samanic coming right below them. So Luka, super cheap, filled in as a starter, only played 23 minutes. Sensabaugh covered pretty much the rest of them. And at 3,800, I get it. He is cheap. He can definitely give you 19, 20 points. But we're really going to want to see him get, 26, 27 minutes to really give us much of a ceiling. And let's talk about Jared Allen a little bit. No Mitchell, no Mobley. As we remember, when there was no Mobley earlier and he had these run of 50, 60-point scores, his ceiling just goes way higher without Mobley. He's not that much better fantasy per minute wise, but he gets a couple extra minutes, and when he gets it going way more than he could with Mobley there. So I think he's very interesting, has a huge ceiling at his price, and pretty solid floor. As you can see, he's, pretty much mid-30s or higher in any game, and that's with Mobley. So mid-30s, maybe low 40 is most likely for him, but has that 50, 60-point ceiling. Dean Wade, talked bad about him, and he made me eat my words yesterday. He put up 40 in 21 minutes. He absolutely just dominated the end of this Celtics-Cleveland game. And, that is what it is. I shouldn't talk bad about him. But, hey, he is now into the starter spot. There's no Mitchell, no Mobley, no Strus. With those guys out, he's almost a 0.9 per minute fantasy producer. So I have to have some intrigue. I don't like the guy. I don't like playing him, but I'm intrigued. And if you look through his game logs, when he plays 26 plus minutes, he's generally in that mid-20s to low 30s range. So I think it makes sense to play him. Hurts me to say, but hey, it is what it is. I got no bias. I just want to win. So let's get over to power forward on DK. We got Luka, Samanic, Dean Wade, and Sensabaugh. Definitely don't play Sensabaugh and Samanic together. They won't be on the court together. Dean Wade, 3,200 is way too cheap. I would be hammering that one. Samanic, Sensabaugh, they're fine. Just play one or the other. LeBron, obviously good. And John Collins. Definitely intrigued by Collins. We see a 50-point upside with all these guys out. That's absolutely in the range of possibilities. And now with Hendricks out also, there's going to be plenty of minutes. He played 35 last game. As long as he's not in foul trouble, I'd expect 34, 35 once again this game. So definitely like some Collins. Into the matchups, Giannis, who I do have to say that he missed last game, but it looks like he's going to play tonight. He went through the shoot-around earlier today, and so when guys do that off of missing a game, I expect them to play. Could change, but that's kind of how I'm looking at that right now. Giannis is obviously very, very interesting, as is Paulo Banchero. And DeMar DeRozan, Santi Aldama, all of them are at least interesting and carry some reason to want to play them. On to the center spot, Jared Allen, Nikola Vucevic. I'm probably hammering the chalk there. I like them both. Don't mind going with either of them. I also like John Collins. And then one thing I do have to say about our boy, Alperen Sengun. Just went off in that crazy game. Jabari Smith is questionable. If Smith is out, what has happened, over the course of the season when Smith is out, he goes from 32, 33 minutes up to 35, 36. So that would then make him right around this Vucevic and Allen kind of projection area, and at much lower ownership, he becomes very interesting. Oh, well, sorry. We already have Sengun higher, but I think it pushes that projection up 3 more points or so. And then he becomes extremely interesting. Don't mind going back to him in this spot. He has a low ownership. Leverage. His ownership probably goes up if Smith is out, but it is absolutely interesting, as is AD leverage wise. Don't love the spot for him, but I love ownership on him. Now, getting into center on DK, we got Luka Simonik, Jared Allen, Dean Wade, and Vucevic, all of which are interesting. Wouldn't talk you off anything, including John Collins right there. So, on to the matchup tool. Best matchup is Wendell Carter Jr. He's just priced up a little bit too high for me. Can he get there in this spot? Absolutely. But I'm just not really willing to take the shot on him when there's so many other guys I like. Vucevic is there. Mo Bamba is there. I do have to say I'm a little bit intrigued with Mo Bamba. He only played 9 minutes last game, but got into quick foul trouble. I could see this game being an 18, 19-minute game for him, and it's just a very, very good spot versus this Grizzlies team that has been so beat up inside. So it's interesting. I do worry because I lose a ton of upside in, the Vucevics, Senguns, Allens. Allen, at least you can play at power forward, but everybody looks like it's paying up for center, so you're getting a very different lineup construction. And we have seen, him go for 30 in low minutes, multiple times before. So I am slightly intrigued by going to some Bamba, but it is absolutely a punt. So I got to say that we don't know what his minutes are going to be. I like Holmgren too, but once again, I just wish his minutes were a little bit higher. He is a very good producer with a giant ceiling, though. All right, guys, and that will do it for us today. It's a little bit of a long one, but we got 8 games. We got some interesting conversations and some interesting contests to play today. So I hope you guys win. Good luck. Let's make some money. Talk to you later. Bye.